Hello and welcome to UPSC Mains PYQ series by Shikara Academy. In this series, in continuation of this series, we are discussing all the GS mains questions asked by UPSC over the past years. So in today's session, in today's live session, we will be discussing the 2023 GS paper 3 and the 5 questions from question number 6 to question number 10. Okay. So starting with the first question of the day, that is question number 6. Discuss several ways in which microorganisms can help in meeting the current fuel shortage. Okay, a 10-mark question that we have to answer in 150 words. Now, mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of science and technology, and that is developments and their applications and effect in everyday life. The topic that is asked here is the topic of biofuels. That how microorganisms or the microbes, how we can utilize these microbes in order to generate fuel that will meet our current fuel shortage and also will provide us with energy security for future as well. Okay. Now, the approach that we'll be taking in answering such a question, in introduction, we will be describing in brief about the role of microorganisms, the role that microorganisms play in the fuel production. Then, in the body of the answer, we will be addressing the demand of the question. We will address the demand by stating the ways the microorganism help in fuel production. We will write different ways how we can use or how we can utilize the microorganisms to help in overall fuel production. Then in conclusion, we summarize the answer and write a forward-looking line or a way forward. So starting with the introduction, with the rising demand, we can start writing that with the rising demand of energy and depletion of fossil fuels. Okay, because there has been a rise in the demand. There has been a rise in demand for energy because the population of the world is rising and uh, more and more because of the economic prosperity, because of the economic advancement and the growth that is facilitated by the energy. Okay, so with high economic growth comes the demand for greater energy requirements. Okay, and now the world is also facing the depletion of fossil fuels. So in such a scenario, when the demand is rising and the fossil fuels are depleting, these microorganisms, they offer sustainable alternatives for fuel production. Okay, so these microorganisms, what they can do, they can convert. These microorganisms have the ability to convert the organic matter into renewable biofuels, and this helps to reduce the dependence on the non-renewable sources such as the fossil fuels. Okay. Now, writing the body, the ways in which these microorganisms can help. Okay. So first is the bioethanol production. Okay. So bioethanol is the talk of the town because the petrol is now blended with bioethanol E20. 20% of this bioethanol is now uh, blended in petrol in India. Okay. So yeast, that is Saccharomyces cerevisiae, it's better if you know the scientific name of the common yeast. It ferments the sugars from crops like sugarcane and maize into ethanol. So it produces ethanol by fermenting the crop residues or the crops like the sugarcane and maize into ethanol. And ethanol can be blended with petrol to reduce the fossil fuel use. An example we can write of E20 petrol that is now available in India. Okay, that is now available across all the petrol pumps in India, and all the petrol that we are purchasing is the E20 petrol. Then there is biogas generation. So methanogenic bacteria, like those bacteria that give out the methane gas. So these bacteria decompose organic matter anaerobically, that is in the absence of oxygen, to release the methane-rich biogas. So the organic waste, the dead organic waste, okay, the these bacteria they work, the small microbes or the bacteria they work on that organic waste and converts it anaerobically, that is in the absence of oxygen, into a methane rich biogas. And this biogas can be used for cooking, it can be used for heating and electricity production. Then biodiesel is derived from algae. Okay, so certain microalgae production produce large amounts of oils that can be converted into biodiesel. Okay, so these microalgae, they produce large amount of oils that can be converted into biodiesel, And this algal biodiesel is renewable, and it produces fewer emissions, less emissions as compared to the normal diesel that we use in the industry. Finally, there is hydrogen gas production. Some photosynthetic bacteria, okay, that bacteria that undergoes the process of photosynthesis and the algae, they generate hydrogen from metabolic processes, which is a clean fuel option. So hydrogen gas is now considered as a fuel, as a very clean fuel option, because when it oxidizes or when the hydrogen gas burns, okay, so hydrogen gas, when it burns, the resultant emission is water only, okay, no other tailpipe emissions are there. So in conclusion, we have to summarize the answer by writing: the microorganisms play a crucial role in producing eco-friendly and renewable fuels such as bioethanol, biogas, biodiesel, and hydrogen. Okay, you have to mention all these four fuels, that is bioethanol, biodiesel, biogas, and hydrogen. And by harnessing their potential, a forward-looking line, we can address the current fuel shortage while ensuring the environmental sustainability. Okay, so this will be a kicker for both the economy. It will be a boost for economy as well as for ecology. Moving on to the next question, that is question number 7. Dam failures are always catastrophic, okay, especially in the on the downstream side, resulting in colossal loss of life and property. Now, this is an introductory statement that is given. Okay, nothing has been asked till now by this question. Analyze the various causes of dam failures. We have to analyze the various causes of failures and give two examples of large dam failures. Okay, a 10-mark question that we have to answer in 150 words. Okay, so now mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of disaster and disaster management. And because the dam failures is a man-made disaster. Okay, please note that the dam failures are man-made disasters. These are not natural disasters. Now, the approach that we'll be taking in answering such a question is that in introduction, we describe the dam failure. Okay, like what are dam failures? Then in body, we address the demand, because the question has been asking about causes of dam failure. We'll write or we'll enlist the causes of dam failure. And the question is also asking us examples of large dam failures. It is asking us two examples. So whenever we have to give examples, it is a better practice that you give diversified examples. Okay, one from one domestic example and one global example. Okay, then in conclusion, we can summarize and write a way forward. So starting with the introduction, dams, they play a crucial role in water storage. So dams are made for water storage, for irrigation purposes, and for electricity generation, that is the hydropower generation. But their failure can be catastrophic, okay, leading to immense loss of life, property, and environmental damage. Now, in this line, with this line, we have dealt with the introductory line that was given in the question. So if any of the introductory line is given in the question, okay, that introductory line has to be dealt up in the introduction of the answer. Okay. Now, starting the body, we have to list the causes of dam failures. Okay. First is the structural weakness. The poor design, use of substandard materials, or aging structures, they weaken the dams. Okay. So um, uh, because of the circumstances like the corruption and other such issues, okay, there can be poor designs, there can be use of substandard materials, okay, very poor quality materials, and most of the dams, particularly in India, are also approaching 90 or 100 years. Okay, so dams are really old. Okay, and due to age also, the structure of the dam, it weakens. So first factor is the structural weakness. Sorry. Then is the overtopping. Excessive rainfall or inadequate spillway capacity causes the water to flow over the dam, eroding it. Okay, so if uh, uh, a dam has certain capacity, okay, so suppose this is the dam and it flows on a river. Okay, this is the river flowing, and we have made a dam, and the water is collected in the reservoir. But due to extreme excess heavy rainfall or inadequate spillway capacity of the dam, when the rainfall is too high, that this entire water can flow over the dam. Okay, and this also erodes the dam and structurally weakens the dam. Then there are foundational defects. Weak or unstable foundations lead to cracks, seepage, and eventual collapse. That is also an aspect of structural weakness. Then there is seismic activity. Earthquakes can destabilize dam structures, causing sudden breaches. So we have dams, very large dams like the Bhakra Nangal and all these dams, the Tihri Dam. So these large dams, they are located in the Himalayan region, and we know Himalayan region is seismically very active region. Okay, so large earthquakes, okay, can destabilize the dams because the structure on which they are placed, that gets eroded. Okay, then there is poor maintenance and human error. There can be neglect in inspection and mismanagement of water levels also contribute to the failures. Okay, not because of poor maintenance, there can also be the silt deposition on silt deposition in at the bottom. Okay, that also reduces the dam's capacity. Okay, now we have to give two examples, one global and one domestic. So the global example is the Banque Dam in China. It collapsed during heavy rainfall and because of the poor spillway design causing. I have the example of the Machu Dam failure in 1979. It happened in the state of Gujarat. Okay, and the dam failure caused overtopping due to intense rainfall and leading to thousands of deaths. Okay. So in conclusion, we can write that dam failure occur due to multiple there can be technical, natural, and managerial factors. Okay, maintenance factors, the technical factors, structural factors, or the natural factors like the earthquakes. Strengthening design standards, regular monitoring of the dams, and effective disaster management are to give the impact. What impact does we have to write the impact of this pollution in the marine ecosystem particularly is harmful for a country like India. Okay, how it is harmful to our country. So mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of environment, and the topic is environmental pollution and degradation, and the topic is the oil pollution. So looking at the approach of for this question, in introduction, we describe oil pollution because we have to define oil pollution. Okay. Then in body, we address the demand by writing of the question by writing the impacts of on the marine ecosystem and its relevance to India. Okay. And in conclusion, we will be summarizing the answer. So starting with the introduction, oil pollution refers to the release of petroleum or its byproducts into the oceans due to accidents, due to certain leaks or illegal discharges. It is one of the marine pollution and causing long lasting. So oil pollution is the release of petroleum or the crude oil or its byproducts into the oceans. Okay, it can due to an accident. So suppose one ship collides with another, an accident. So suppose one ship collides with another, or a ship sinks or catapults in the water, and its entire catapult or they can sink, or even though there are many catapult or they can sink, or even though there are many diesel run ships are out there. Okay, their fuel can leak into the ships are out there. Okay, their fuel can leak into the ocean, or some of the refineries what they are involved in, they or some of the refineries what they are involved in, they illegally discharge many of the petroleum waste or the petrol marine pollution because it has a very long lasting impact for the aquatic ecosystem and the aquatic environment. Okay, what damages or what impact it has on the marine ecosystem? First is the damage to marine life. So the oil, it coats the surface of water. So we all know that the density of oil is less than the density of water. So therefore, this oil, it floats on the surface of the water. Okay. So this blocks sunlight. This oil that is floating on the top, it blocks sunlight and oxygen exchange between the ocean water and the atmosphere. and this suffocates fish and the planktons. So overall productivity, the ocean's productivity comes down. Okay, the fishes they suffocate to death, and the planktons they die, thereby reducing the productivity of the oceans. Then there is harm to birds and mammals. So oil sticks to the feathers and furs of the birds and reducing the insulation and buoyancy, often leading to death. So the mammals or the birds that are there, okay, their coats or their feathers, their furs, this oil goes and stick to those furs, and it reduces their buoyancy. So these mammals they can now sink at the bottom of the sea, or the marine mammals are there, so they can sink at the bottom, or the birds they can because of the oil that is there. Okay, their feathers can stick and they lose the ability to fly also. Then there is disruption in food chain. So toxic chemicals from oil can accumulate in organisms, causing bioaccumulation and loss of biodiversity. Okay. So firstly, the food chain is disturbed because the planktons are not receiving enough sunlight and not getting enough oxygen. Okay. So they start to produce less food. Then the toxic waste from the oil spill or from the oil. Okay. It easily accumulates in the tissues of the or in the it easily accumulates in the food chain, thereby disrupting the food chain. Then relevance to India, like how it is concerning for us, okay, in India. First is the economic losses. India's economy depends heavily on fisheries and coastal tourism. Okay, it is very because if in the coastal region, so this year we had an oil spill off the coast of Kerala. Okay, so this oil spill or the oil pollution, it negatively impacts the coastal tourism as well. Okay, then there is threat to coast people living along India's 7,500 kilometer coastline. They rely on the marine resources for the livelihoods. Okay, they are dependent on fisheries. They are dependent on this coastal tourism, and with oil spill or oil pollution, both the fisheries and the coastal tourism they take a hit. Environmental impact. So sensitive ecosystems like mangroves, the coral reefs, and the estuaries, they face long-term damaging effects. Okay. So now, in conclusion, we can write oil pollution poses ecological, social, and economic challenges. Okay. Ecological, environmental challenges, the social challenges that is associated with the livelihood, and the economic challenges that is associated with the fisheries and the uh, coastal tourism sector. Okay. For a coastal nation like India, coastline, strict regulation, effective cleanup strategies, and sustainable practices are vital to protect the marine ecosystems and human livelihoods from the oils or oil pollution. Okay. Moving on to next question. That is question number 9. Winning the hearts and minds in terrorism affected areas is an essential step in restoring the trust of the population. Now, this is the introductory line. Nothing has been asked till now in the question. Discuss the measures adopted by the government in this respect as part of the conflict resolution in Jammu and Kashmir. A 10-mark question that we have to answer in 150 words. Okay. So it is a question from the subject of internal security, and the topic is linkages between development and spread of extremism, and it is also about terrorism and insurgency. Okay. Now, the approach that we'll be taking in answering such a question in that is that in the introduction, we will be dealing with the introductory statement or introductory line that was given in the question. Okay. And then we connect the introductory line in the introduction with the body. In body, we address the demand of the question by writing the key measures that are adopted by the government. And in conclusion, we will be summarizing the answer and write a way forward. Okay. So what measures government has been taking and what we can do, just one line regarding the way forward. So starting with the introduction, in terrorism affected regions like Jammu and Kashmir, building trust between the state and the population is crucial for lasting peace. The government has adopted several measures to restore faith, focusing on security, development, and integration. So this is the introductory line. The first line is the introductory line, and the second line is the connecting line, that is connecting the introduction with the body. Now, starting with the body, that is the key measures adopted by government in the regard of uh, raising or increasing the confidence of the masses of the people who are living in these terror affected regions or areas. So first are the development initiatives. So the infrastructure projects like roads, good roads, power supply and housing. Second, employment schemes such as skill development and entrepreneurship support for the youth. Then there are education and healthcare, establishments of new schools, colleges and universities, and expansion of healthcare facilities, healthcare services, mobile medical units in remote areas, and also establishment of the uh, healthcare education institution, okay, medical institutions. Then there is community engagement, dialogue with the local leaders, the religious figures or the religious leaders, and the youth. Okay, understanding their aspirations, understanding the aspirations of the youth, what they want from the state, okay, what they expect from the state. Then conducting sports events, cultural programs, and exchange initiatives to promote integration and to channelize the youth's energy towards the productive things like sports, cultural exchanges, and these initiatives, these positive initiatives. Then there is security with sensitivity. There has been a focus on during the counter-terrorism operations. Okay, it has the government or the security forces, they keep in mind this thing to minimize the collateral damage or to minimize the civilian harm. Then there has been rehabilitation programs for the surrendered militants. Now, because if the development is also coming to such region, many of the terrorists or the militants, okay, they now want, so they needs to be well rehabilitated into the society or in the Indian order. So, in conclusion, we can write the government's approach in Jammu and Kashmir combines development, dialogue, and security. Okay. Now, the way forward, like by addressing grievances, we have to address the grievances and improve the livelihoods. It seeks to win the heart and minds of people, paving the way for peace and stability in the region. Okay, winning the hearts and minds of people, that is enhancing the trust and the confidence of the masses people into the government or the state. Moving on to the final question of the day, that is question number 10. The use of unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, by our adversaries across the borders to ferry arms and ammunition, drug, etc., is a serious threat to the internal security. Okay, this is the introductory statement or the situation is given. Okay, so in the internal security, the situation is given. Now we have to comment on the measures that are taken in order to tackle this threat of the, and what is the threat? The use of unmanned aerial vehicles. This is the threat. Use of UAVs by our adversaries. Okay. Now mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of internal security, and this the topic is challenges and their management in the border areas. Okay, and it is a 10-mark question, keywords. Now the approach that we'll take in writing answers to such a question is that in introduction we address the introductory statement by writing or by describing the role of UAVs, how the adversaries they are using UAVs. Okay, and then in body we write the measures that are taken by the government. Okay, and in conclusion we write the summary and a way forward, that is what steps the steps taken by the government, what measures the government is taking, that we are writing in the body. So in conclusion we also have to give our recommendation or our way forward to the answer. So starting with the introduction, the unmanned aerial vehicles or drones are increasingly used by adversaries to smuggle arms, explosives, and narcotics across borders. Okay, so this is the introductory statement. We have dealt with the introductory statement. Now, why? What's the role? Now, this is a serious challenge to India's internal security, especially along the sensitive border regions like Punjab and Jammu and Kashmir. So if the time permits, okay, in order to better connect with the question and to better connect with the examiner, to gain that extra half an mark, here you can draw the map of India that is along the western border, okay, in the and highlight the Punjab border and the Jammu and Kashmir border. Okay, Now, starting with the body, we have to write the measures that are taken by the government. So first are the technological countermeasures. What technology-led initiatives the government is taking? So government has deployed anti-drone systems that are equipped with jammers and laser-based interceptions in order to intercept and shoot down the or to down the drones at the border. Then there are use of radar and radio frequency sensors to detect the low-flying drones. So many a times these drones they fly in lower at lower altitudes. Okay, so these are not detected by our radars or the radars that are specially designed to detect the incoming aircrafts or the incoming projectiles like the missiles. Okay, so for these UAVs we have special radars and special radio frequency in order to detect them that are flying at the lower altitude. Then strengthening border security, increased patrolling by BSF and security agencies along the India-Pakistan border. So this UAV, especially now, till now, it has been a threat only along the border with Pakistan. Okay. Then there is installation of smart fencing and integrated surveillance system to strengthen the overall border security. Then there is intelligence and coordination, enhanced intelligence sharing between the central and the state agencies, and collaboration with international partners to track drone technology misuse. Okay, we are collaborating internationally also with countries like Iran, Turkey, but they are not that much. Turkey is not that much cooperative, and the other international players that their own drone technology or their because their technology is involved in making the drones, and these drones are misused against India's security. Again, it is they are being misused against India. So we have to reach or we have to collaborate with such international partners. Then there are legal and policy measures, framing of drone under the drone rules of 2021, and strict action against the local networks assisting in drone-based smuggling. Okay, so we have introduced or we have come out with the drone rules or the policy regarding the drone rules in 2021, and the local population, the local people, okay, who are involved, the local network who are involved in this smuggling of arms, smuggling of drugs, okay, um, that that is coming from drones from the other side of border. So there has been strict actions against such individuals or such groups. So in conclusion, we can write the UAV threat or the unmanned aerial vehicle threat is evolving. This threat is evolving and it requires constant vigilance. By combining the advanced technology, intelligence coordination, and strict border management, India is working to safeguard its internal security from these drone intrusions. Okay.